Now, say my name.
The Rolling Bad Podcast.
You're goddamn right.
Coming to you almost live from the edge of the abyss, it's the Rolling Bad Podcast, episode number 167. It is September 15th. I'm your host, Bill Costello. With me,
all the way from the forest of Kadaku, it's Joshua Alt.
Foreshadowing. What? So I want to start at the very beginning and say this podcast is not labeled clean. There will be words that are perhaps not acceptable for younger audiences. So you are forearmed and forewarned. Why? Why, Josh? Why are we going to say things like shucks and darn and dang it and why?
Because it's the end and the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to be rebranding is what I've been calling it.
Yeah.
As you probably noticed throughout a number of our shows as they progressed, we've also been progressing further and further away from just GW.
Yeah.
Right? And specifically just AOS, right?
Yeah.
We have very diversified hobby interests. We have a bunch of different games that we like, games that we're getting into. I mean, you probably heard more about Conquest than AOS in some of our episodes.
And, yeah, recently. And, we're gonna talk about all that during the lore, but this is the last episode of the Rolling Bad Podcast.
Yep.
For a couple of weeks. And then it will be rebranded.
Yes. So it's changing. Billy, I think you already had this group set up, right? Like on Facebook, and you had some really cool artwork and logos and stuff that I'm hoping and convince them to put on dice and shirts.
Yes.
But we're going to be changing, and we'll get that in just a little bit, what exactly that brand's going to be like and what to expect from it.
And why we're changing.
Yeah.
Not just, there's reasons, and y'all are part of it.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe we start with the why. I mean, I guess we can get there a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about our hobby antics this last few weeks. So
for New Dawn, honestly, real sparse after the pre-order for Skaven.
Yep.
I haven't seen another bloody thing that was adjacent because, I think they're fixing to roll out a lot of Skaven stuff.
Yeah.
So let's not push the supply chain too hard.
Yeah.
So let's just release a lot of made-to-order shit and be done with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they always do when they have like this big thing's coming down the pike, and we'll pay a little homage to some of these smaller games, you know, as we go through it. But
hitting really where it's, you're getting some Blood Bowl stuff. It's nice. It's nice for the other systems to see some love in the middle of a edition change.
To be frank, if you're a big fan of those like sub games that GW puts out, like Blood Bowl, like Necromunda, look for a big release.
Yeah.
Because you're probably going to get something for one of those systems the next week, right? Yeah. That seems how they've been trickling them out, They don't get a lot of fanfare, obviously. They're not edition changes and all that stuff. Even when Necromunda got its update, right, to its rulebook, it was kind of like hushed whispers,
Buy this box or else.
Yeah. Hey, we consolidated everything and updated some of the rules. You should get it. And everyone's like, okay.
What?
What's Necromunda? Next week is when things are going down, right? In terms of the Skaven launch. Lots of videos already out there from other content creators.
Oh, yeah.
Reviewing the book. Cool stuff.
It all looks so amazeballs. Just... Man, that first set of releases, that first wave is so off the hook awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And what's coming next, I would imagine we will see a few weeks of Skaven releases and then, boom, Stormcast come.
Yep.
And, man, oh, man, what they're going to be putting out for Stormcast just from that initial preview.
Yeah.
Good Lord. It's a great day. If Skaven's your jam, if Stormcast your jam, it's a happy time.
And if none of it's your jam, I think that they're showing they're actually having a pretty tight release schedule right now. Yeah. I mean, 40K didn't get this, right? 40K had, Index for so long. And even then, after the Tyranid Space Marine fight, Tyranid's got a huge drop. It took forever for Space Marines.
Yeah.
But this one, I think they're running a little low to the ground, trying to get out the product to AOS players faster.
Yeah, I think they're learning from some of the from some of the bad PR from the 40K
Yeah.
drop that the time was just too great. The time span was, ooh, come on, really? New edition? Let's have some new toys. So, and same way for AOS. New edition, want new toys.
Yeah.
And especially what they damn sure need to do is if you're going to have this free manifestation crap in every list, you need to start putting those models back out where people can get them.
Oh, yeah.
And, having to go back to the Soul Blight box to get your endless spells, no. Start pumping that crap out. You've decided that this is a good way of doing the rules. Now back it up, because you're just creating an environment where the haves and the have-nots. I can't get a hold of these things.
Oh, yeah.
You won't let me kit bash it. So how about pop these things?
Yeah, and that's one of the things. There's some of those spells are so unique in size and scope that like you can't kit bash it. Reminds me of the what was it, the Vortex that you made that one time back when we allowed to have the Vortex.
Oh yeah, the Balewind Vortex.
Yeah,
with the
Balewind
snakes.
Vortex.
Yeah,
that thing was brutally good.
Yeah.
But you can't get that anywhere. And it's not even anything in the game anymore. But
yeah.
they squatted that thing quick.
Didn't they? Holy crap!
Do you remember Croak on top of one of those things?
Yes.
Just like 140
my
something mortal
God.
wounds in turn one.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that was so broken.
It was so bad. So bad. But I mean, like these packs when they first came out, it's kind of like, oh, they're kind of gimmicky. Like when you're talking about the original vanilla endless spells,
Yeah.
right? But I got it.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking at it like, dear God, what would this thing cost if they re-released it right now? I mean, like, dear
Oh, my
Lord, are you dropping like $150 for Spearhead endless spells? Like, my goodness.
I'm kind of hoping that they'll do like they did and break that box up into subsets and just sell the manifestation boxes.
Yeah.
Here's boom, this set. Okay, I can just buy that. But if I know GW, there's going to be one from each manifestation in the box, so that you have to buy all the boxes. Well, it makes retail sense.
It does.
If I give you what you need, you buy one thing. If I give you what I need, you buy 4 things.
Yeah.
So,
And there's so many that could just mix and match to the point where you have to buy each box in order to get there.
well, I'm hoping that at the local level, people are going to be like, okay, let's each buy one box and split them the way we are going to use them. So,
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they certainly need to release the army-specific endless spells again.
oh yeah, for sure.
Like, dear God.
You've made them so important. Now back it up.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's kind of New Dawn. New Dawn is there is no dawn. So especially for this show.
There's only darkness,
Yes.
nothingness
Yes.
at the end.
That is correct. Under battles, games played. I played some HeroScape.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How much HeroScape did you play?
Quite a bit actually. We got through what? Let me see. We did first, second, and then this time we did third, fourth, and fifth. We're up to the 5th scenario, and this is the first time that we're going to draft.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we're getting ready to. I think tonight we'll probably do the draft and start playing through this scenario because I'm trying to ease Pam into this. I don't want her to get knocked over. HeroScape is so fucking simple anyway.
Yeah.
But the interactions on the units is what's really key to having a lot of fun in that game and making it work. And so, we're going to take some time and let her draft and go over what she drafted. And if it's junk, we'll reset and, just have some fun. And, we're mixing in all the stuff that I had from years ago.
Oh,
So, I have the ninjas. I have all the different weird stuff, which has zero synergy with the stuff that came out recently. So I really don't want to see her buy like the Pirate Lord who gets to activate pirates, and then she has ninjas and Bushidos and can't really use his abilities.
Yeah,
So, we're gonna take it slow, show her how to draft so that she gets an idea of how to look at the synergies on the cards and make them work. And then we'll play the game and
Till she figures it out and suddenly you've unlocked too much power.
yes, which is scary.
You're like, I never knew that combo could happen. What have I done?
Oh God, what have I done to the world?
Right.
Oh yeah, it's coming. It's coming. But yeah, that's about the only tabletop stuff. Everything else has been computer games. Newsflash, Starfield is actually fun for the first time. I don't want to say again, but it's actually fun. You can fast travel in one click now you can get to your mission sites with just one click instead of 16 loading screens. And it's still Bethesda. It's Fallout 4. It's Elder Scrolls. You walk in any town and you're going to pick up 15 quests, and they're all like, oh, that sounds fun. And so you get sidetracked so bad in that game. But, it's typical Bethesda. If you like their games, you will like Starfield now that it's been fixed. If you don't like Bethesda games, avoid it like the plague.
If you don't like Bethesda, what are you doing?
Yeah, why'd you buy Starfield?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. But anyway, what have you been playing?
Yeah, no tabletop stuff, but lots of Wukong and Space Marine 2.
Man, that Wukong looks sweet.
The story behind it is just so awesome that, like, they didn't have the funding that they wanted to really make the game what they wanted. It's supposed to be 13 chapters, but they had to make it 6 long chapters instead because they just didn't have the funding. Despite that, the game is beautiful. The system is fantastic. It's challenging, but not impossible, right?
And they're blowing the numbers on Steam. It's just crazy. I think it's number 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think they have 20 or 30 million units sold as of last week, and it released on August 20th. And then on average, they're having like 2 to 3 million players at a time on the game.
See, yeah,
those are insane numbers.
It just goes to show you that, these AAA titles with all their watered down bull crap that they're trying to foist on gamers just isn't working. And then when you go to a developer like this and they make just a solid game, this is what happens. You didn't learn from Larian, guys. Learn.
The boss density in Wukong is out of this world. So that's one of the main reasons why you you play these games, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you want to explore and you want to see the beauty of the world, but you want to fight bosses. I mean, like, boss fights are cool. Yeah. And you want to, like, really find challenging bosses that are, like, not, like, stupid difficult, right? That you, like, if I just get good at this one aspect of the game, right, then I know I'm going to be able to beat this boss, right? And that's every boss I've come across in this game. Like, I've not fought one where it's like I figured out, like, here's how I beat this boss. Yeah. Right. And sometimes it's close, right? I'm not saying it's going to be easy once you find the trick, because it's a challenge. But the fact that they're doing so well that it's already greenlit DLC.
Oh, yeah.
And the next Black Myth game, which I can't remember which other Chinese god they're going to be going with on that one. Nice. But they're following all the Chinese lore. Right. And that's a beautiful aspect of the game, is opening up and reading the descriptions of the enemies, because it's not just, this is a wolf soldier with a sword and a buckler. Like, it doesn't do that. It actually goes into a story.
Yeah, here's his numbers.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. It's so good. If you like that style of game, if you want something that's better than Elden Ring, I said it, pick up Wukong.
Heresy. You're off the show. Okay. Anyway.
Okay, Leandros. Speaking of which...
Alrighty then.
Space Marine 2.
Oh God.
I've had to like stop myself from playing it.
Yes.
Because it's so good. Because it's Space Marine 1, but better.
And this is why I have not even started, is because I have so many irons right now going, both, trying to get some hobby pumped out and trying to build a whole bunch of crap.
Yeah.
That I just know that if I start Space Marine, it's there on my hard drive and it's calling to me. It's like the Ring. It's like, come to Mordor. Yeah. But no, I will not start that game, because I know if I don't do it over like a long weekend or something, I will get nothing done for a week.
Well, I mean, I guess to your benefit, and I haven't gotten that far yet, but I hear it's a really short campaign.
That's good.
Because the campaign's actually 2 parts. You have, just playing as Titus.
Yeah.
But then there's the separate unit of 3 Marines that were with him that go off and do other things. So you have other storylines to do, and that you have to play with 3 people.
Nice.
So that's where you do the different classes and stuff.
Sure.
Before you get into the PvP aspect.
Nice.
So, the core story seems to be relatively short for a game. So cool. I think you'll be able to knock it out in a weekend once you can set it up.
Nice. Awesome.
I mean, you've been a good time to parlay into hobby, because you got a little terrain addicted.
I may have gone overboard. Yes. I have been pumping out infinity terrain like there's no tomorrow. When you have a 3D printer, all your problems look like plastic that just needs to be formed.
Yep.
And yes, that's what I've been doing is I want to have a table, a 4x4 table for Infinity that will work. And if you don't know, Infinity is a game that requires terrain.
Lots.
It's not just, like they say, it's not the third player. It is the absolute basic requirement of the game.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just a shoot fest, and you missed the point.
Yeah.
Of the game. Just imagine playing Kill Team on an open board. How many operative teams would not work,
Oh, yeah.
just because they die. And so you wouldn't do that. You would not put together a Kill Team board that's just like one building in the middle and let's just rush for it.
Yeah.
That would be boring. Same thing with Infinity is you got to have cover. You have to have broken up fire lanes. Otherwise, certain factions just dominate the game.
Even just certain like models.
Yeah, even certain weapons
Yeah.
will just be like, oh, you have an HMG? Okay, you win. Or a missile, you win. Okay.
Yeah, and like that's one of the coolest aspects that they built into Infinity, and it's what a lot of like Necromunda players really like, density of terrain. Like actually building this like cool table where you've got varying levels of
even better example, Necromunda.
Yeah. Yeah, like some of those Necromunda tables that you can look at online are insane.
Yes.
And Infinity follows a very similar kind of thought process, so it's not, under Hy-Vee. It's you are in cities, and battling it out in urban areas and stuff like that. So
it's crazy good.
I'm just looking at one of the boxes of terrain that Bill has positioned next to my seat. I imagine as a flex.
Who, me flexing? No. Yes.
Yes.
Guilty.
In case you have you looked at my terrain box? Let me show you my second one.
Yeah, let me show you the other one. I know, it's sick. The other thing too is in the 3D printing world, you have two very distinct camps. You have the free stuff that shows up on, Thingiverse and MakerBot and all those places, and they're good. I mean, people put effort into them and they're just fine. They're quite good. And then you have the stuff that you buy from places like, Corvus Games, Saucerman Studios, all these different, you ask any two people that are in that sort of realm what their favorite is, and you'll get two different answers, and they're all great.
Yeah.
I personally like Corvus Game Terrain. They have that system where all the doors will open. You just pull the little tab and boom, the doors open. Yay. Yep. And that's kind of important, in the game. And they price these things at a level that it's intelligent. Okay. They're not trying to, here's this apartment building and it's 3 stories with this amazing combination of external stairwells and all to make it look like an apartment building from the future, of course. And, they could probably get away charging $35 for that or something, and people would probably buy it.
Yeah.
Instead, I think they charge $12 for it.
Holy cow.
And it's a lot of files and a lot of flexibility to do it any way you want. And I'm just like, okay, I'll spring for that. I bought their whole city system because it's cohesive. It's nice. It's very effective terrain for the tabletop. And it makes it fun. And you start knocking these things out. You just start printing them out and having fun. And then you get to do all the fun painting and sticking on greebles and just, making it personal. I love that. Really love it.
Hold on to this for right now until we get to us discussing the changes later on.
Okay.
Nakatomi Tower. Okay. Nakatomi Plaza. We'll get to that in a bit. Yeah. But it's not just terrain you've been working on, Bill. I see I see quite a bit behind you there.
There might be some entire Warcrow boxes that are built and primed, and there could be some Infinity Bakunin. Okay, there's probably more than needs to be talked about, built and primed, and others that are getting ready to go, because I just took delivery of some moderators yesterday, so I've got my cheap troops. So yeah, building metal models. Yay. I love it. Corvus Belly, bite my dick. I hate metal models. Oh my God. And their metal models are bar none some of the best models out there, but they're metal models.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. They are metal models, and that is such a dead end of production. And I'll say it now. And the Infinity purists can do whatever they want to do, but holy crap, metal models are a dead end. And they are a great way to make sure you don't get new players into your game.
Yeah.
And they're just annoying as hell.
Yeah.
So, but when they're done, they are fucking gorgeous. They are some of the best models out there. Just
It's so true.
brilliant. And I do love the weight of the metal models, I must say. But the Warcrow stuff is all Cyocast. So it's really, those are fun to put together, except for some of the gaps. But, you're going to get that with resin. So, oh well.
Par for the course.
Yep. They're fun to build and just beautifully detailed models. And one of the things I love about the Infinity models is they're busy and they're very detailed. But one thing I've noticed lately is some of the GW models are just too detailed. There's just too much there. And yes, it's that age old, yes, we can do a thing, but should we do this thing?
Yeah.
And there's some points in time when you're doing the Sisters of Battle where you look at it and going, honestly, does that really, the 13th rosary hanging off of her belt, is that really necessary? 12 wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So sometimes the GW models can get a little over detailed if
too busy.
Yeah. And a lot of times you just don't paint it and it just blends into the background and it's okay. Yeah. But, sometimes I would rather have the model look like the Corvus Belli stuff, which the detail that's there is what's required, and it's gorgeously well done.
Yeah.
They have truly made metal modeling to another level.
Yeah.
A different plane of existence from the old GW stuff. And, the old Mantic and, some of those just, wow. But at the end of the day, they're metal models. And super glue sticks to me and my desk and everything else except metal models. And I have an ultrasonic cleaner.
Yeah.
I scrub the crap out of these things. There is zero mold release when I'm done. Hell, I've wiped off some of the details with my toothbrush, but they still just will not stick together. I hate you, super glue. But anyway, that's what I've been doing hobby wise. And don't, I'm looking at a box over on your side. So don't say it's all me.
Hey. Yeah. So, there's a reason why, Bill and I are going to have mimicking sort of hobby stuff. So, I got Steel Phalanx stuff, for Infinity. I picked up the Sectorial box, which comes with Phoenix and Myrmidons and Scylla and, all that good stuff. And then I got Ajax and Atalanta.
Yeah, the two most broken models in the game.
Yeah. I mean, Atalanta for sure.
Yeah.
Ajax if he gets close to you. And Atlanta's one of the ones you definitely, she's a reason why you want terrain.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like if she,
oh my God, yes.
If she can see you while you're moving, you might as well pick up the model.
Just drop it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because she will ARO you on 18s. Like, holy crap. Yeah. So, I picked up Steel Phalanx because I was like, Greek heroes, man. Yeah. This is super cool. And now I'm reading the rules. I'm like, what have they done?
Yeah.
Now I'm understanding the rules, like Mimetism 6 and all the armor that they've got and link teams. It's crazy.
I think it's funny that we both picked up boxes to start Infinity, and without thinking, we have all this talk about being narrative.
Yeah.
And we picked up the two most broken factions in the game right now, as it stands right now. And I know for a fact that I don't have enough of the nuns with guns to make them into, their powerful meta. I don't have the stuff to do that. But there's a path to get there.
Yep.
But goddamn, Steel Phalanx on their own is like, holy shit, they're good. I mean, goddamn. There's a reason those two factions are at the top of the tier list.
Yeah.
They got the tools.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Steel Phalanx is just like the inbuilt strength that they've got, which, I think will be helpful for me as a beginner, like to have sort of a tolerance for failure, I did the wrong thing, but thank God I have -6 to get shot at, right?
Yeah.
So they, but I picked them up because of the Greek stuff. I was just so like taken by the theme.
That's the thing is we didn't know anything about the game.
Oh no.
And we picked the two best factions to take right now. And I just think that's so hilarious that, okay, well, you know what? You're going to watch two noobs screw up the two best factions.
Heyo. But also, what's funny too is that they are actually opposed to one another, which we didn't even
bitterly
plan.
Opposed. Yes. It's just crazy how this whole Infinity journey started on a lark.
Yeah.
And it's just been all consuming.
It's been thematic. Like it's literally building up to which probably be a fun little narrative aspect of, Steel Phalanx versus Bakunin
versus
those with guns trying to take them down. I'm sure we could work something out with that. We'll talk about
easy
that in a bit. But
oh my God, that's a campaign waiting to happen.
Oh yeah. So I built all the models, I primed all the models, and I painted up my 150 point list, just starting list. I was like, I want a little bit of everything just so I can learn it. So it's got, it is Steel Phalanx still. So it's got Phoenix and Scylla in there as my hacker.
Yeah.
I've got net rods. I've got template weapons. I've got non-template weapons. So it's just, I was trying to get a mix of a little bit of everything.
Yep.
Just see what it is before I slap Atlanta and Ajax into a list.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh Lord, or Achilles. God, they're so good. So good. But yeah, I painted up the 8 starting models. It's funny because it should actually be it's 7 on my list, but Scylla comes with the DevBot.
Yeah.
DevBot Charybdis. Get it?
Get it?
Scylla Charybdis.
Yeah.
Anyway, painted that up. Got the Warcrow starter. Built all of the cardboard terrain. Absolutely beautiful terrain.
Yeah.
Goes together like a dream. And it just also just looks good.
Yeah.
Like as far as it's not like popping. Like what Bill will eventually print for Warcrow probably. But it's enough to like that starter set is solid.
It's
really good.
It's one of those starter boxes for Warcrow. You buy that, you walk away, and you're playing the game.
Yeah.
You have everything you need in there to play the game. Look at that GW. A set of balanced forces that will actually lead to engaging games.
Yep.
It's a thought. It's something to think about.
With terrain, with a mat, with dice, with all the tokens and markers that you're gonna need,
measuring sticks and all that good stuff. It's it's the MCP starter box.
Yeah.
It's everything you need is right here.
Yeah.
And play the game. You are playing moments after you open the box and build the models.
Yeah.
So have fun. And as much as the GW boxes that they are curated in a different way.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to knock them for it, but it's, a starter box should be a starter box. It should be something that is used to intro new players to the hobby, not something to make them go out and buy more stuff to get going. So, just a thought.
Yeah. And the box is so great in the sense that like they took so much care in developing the 3 mission campaign that you start out in, how it introduces new rules and concepts as you progress through the campaign.
Yep.
Like, hello, like this is amazing. Like, well, we used to play games where you had tutorials, right?
Yes.
Like, here's how you jump. Here's how you run.
Right.
Here's how you, and so they're doing that in a tabletop format. And dear God, folks, just go and look at like some of the models that
for
are
Warcrow. Yeah.
For Warcrow, they're going to be released. Like they will blow your mind.
And they are not metal. They are Cytocast. So Cyocast. I keep trying to call it Cytocast. I don't know why. But yeah, they super glue, nice big attachment points, score them up a little bit with a hobby knife, pour the super glue in. I don't mean pour it. I mean, drip it in and stick them together and have your finger become part of the model and you're done. Shake the model off and then you're really done. But one thing about the Cytocast, I will say, definitely wash that stuff before you put it together because they do use mold release. It's resin. It's like any resin model, GW resin, whoever does resin. Wash it before you put it together because there is mold release on there.
And your mold lines, just so you know, they can get thready. So you want to be very careful with your hobby knife.
Yeah.
to just very carefully slice them off. That way it doesn't look, doesn't look good.
Yeah.
So don't try and use like a GW like scraper or something.
Yeah, no, it's not going to cut it.
Yeah, it'll just thread it off and it does not look good.
No.
So careful, precision with your hobby knife.
Yeah.
But I built only half of the forces. I only built the hegemony of Ember Sig models so far. I did that all yesterday while in the midst of painting my Infinity models.
Our text thread yesterday was pretty long.
Yeah, we just started going off. Yeah, I have to say, like, I agree with you, Bill. Like, those ones, you pretty much could have, like, poured them out of the pouch into some glue and they would have just fallen together. You know, they just go together so well. The only part that might even be finicky for you all, well, I could say the elf dude's a little weird at first until you realize what's attaching to what.
Right.
But all of them have their sheaths for their sabers on their hips.
Yes.
So just trying to get that exact little point. But I have to say, super glue takes to this resin better than it does the metal models.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God, yes.
Yeah, so those things will harden up pretty quick. And you don't even need to use, like, the baking soda tricks or, any type of super glue.
No, not on
them.
No.
They just go together. And so next I will be going into what sounds like the challenge of building the orcs.
Yeah, you'll be using either green stuff or, in my case, I used UV resin.
Oh, okay.
To just hide a couple of gaps here and there. And it's just literally a case of, I don't know if it's the size of the print run might have made the molds a little bit more, so there's some misalignment, or if it really is just it's designed this way in CAD, but when it comes out in the resin, it's gonna be different. So, it probably went together amazingly on the computer, but it's not as perfect but again, we're not talking about, oh my God, you're going to spend twice as much time fixing them as you are building. It's, a little slap of green stuff here. Boom, that gap's filled.
Yeah. And that's the main culprit I understand is like Alborg, right? The leader guy.
The extra wolf guy or extra bear guy. Where he sits on his body, where you put his body onto his legs, there is a monstrous overhang.
Oh, the bear.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was talking about from the starter boxes. I thought it was the leader. I haven't seen the bear yet.
He's pretty bad. The leader is pretty bad. And who else was bad? The shaman was, to me, I think, one of the biggest transgressors. But there's the bear guy. You can see kind of where his gap in the back was. And this is great radio, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm talking about models.
Talking about models you can't see. I got to say, just reporting on this, I could see what you're saying, but other than that, like, the model is beautiful.
Yeah.
This is actually very important for like lore stuff for the orcs or the northern tribes.
Yeah.
In Warcrow is that it's orcs and then like northern humans.
Yeah.
Kind of. And the humans, are they Varink or something like that?
Yeah. Varink. Yeah.
They have this really cool sort of magical thing where they get a totem animal when they come of age.
Yes.
And some of them, like, they bond with the spirit, and so like they'll get some sort of boon from it.
Yep.
And sometimes, like this guy right here, you will turn into your totem animal for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's super cool.
They are badass. So
of course, Bill likes the Vikings.
It's me and my Norse background.
Yeah,
right. You're from Portugal, you moron. But all I can think of is maybe in the distant past, the Vikings came down to my hometown in Portugal and, like, I don't know, hung out for a while and told stories.
Yeah.
I don't know why I am so addicted to the Viking stuff.
Hey, Vikings really like sharing their culture.
Just the Norse mythology to me has always been just so. I love the Greek. I love, the co-opted Roman, but the Greek mythology is just so good.
Yeah.
And it's so filled with human frailty, and it humanized the gods, finally, in terms of our history. But the Norse stuff was always that way.
Yeah.
It was always the gods were mucking about with the mortals on a daily.
Yeah.
And it was like this was not unexpected, and they just had such a great time, and they had all these foibles and all these humanistic flaws, but at the end of the day, they really were trying to protect everyone.
Yeah.
And trying to help everybody. And, sometimes the version of help is not exactly what you would call helpful, but, I just love that lore.
Yeah.
Love it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. If you haven't gone back and read like what the myths of the Norsemen that Nunn translated back in the early 1900s, just amazing. And then Neil Gaiman did a really good adaptation of that. So he also, his probably be more accessible for a modern audience.
Yeah.
So go out and read it. It's bizarre stories. It's not like, if you haven't read the stories and you have certain concepts of what the Norse gods are, that'll be turned on its head.
If your view of the Norse mythology is from Marvel movies, no.
Oh God,
just no.
Good. It's a good read.
Yeah,
it's a really good read.
When you start getting into Draesel and the World Tree and how everything flows around that idea of Ragnarok, it's when there's an expiration date on your time.
Yeah.
It leads to an amazing amount of weird interactions, and it's just awesome. Read it.
Yeah.
I like it. But anyway, that was the hobby.
Lots of hobby, actually.
Infinity and Warcrow.
Yeah. Building.
Which
keep building.
Actually segues real well into our lore segment.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to jump into why we're ending and why we're restarting.
Yeah.
And now for something completely different.
All right, here it comes. Here's the stuff. Here's why. Why are we ending the show after 167 episodes full of AOS content? Mostly. It's simple. The comment from that one guy on iTunes is the thing that just got me thinking so much about what's the nature, what's the reason for the podcast. When we first started this podcast, the idea was there wasn't a whole lot of AOS coverage out there. You had Dave, the Godfather, or the Podfather, who had done Garage Hammer forever. And he had literally seen everyone through the dark time between Warhammer Fantasy and AOS, and then just picked up and moved along. But really, there wasn't a lot else out there. And we were like, let's do this. Let's get AOS on the map. And so we were one of the first, and we had just such a great time doing it. And it was fun. And over the years, we've changed and morphed and altered how we present things. But at the end of the day, and I hate to say AOS 4, the new version is also one of the catalysts because it's damn good. It's really damn good. And there's at once a vast amount of content to cover in the game, but that's not our focus is not that end of it. How to competitively put together this and that and the other thing and tear apart the battle tomes and all that stuff. That's not what we do. And because it's really, really good, there's not a lot of scope left. And I think AOS was just too narrow of a focus for the podcast that we want to do.
Yeah.
We're into other games also. And to that person's point, yes, we've been digressing a lot from AOS, and to have a podcast that's branded AOS on the icon, on everything about our show, it's like we are an Age of Sigmar podcast, and that's not true anymore. So that's why this incarnation is ending.
It is. It's a time for rebirth, so to speak. If you, like I said earlier, if you've been tracking back through our episodes, you could see the shift, and the conversations that we've been having, even, on the Discord and things like that, is branching out to different games, right?
Yeah.
We got our Conquest talk. We got MCP talk. We've got folks getting into BattleTech, right? All the different things that people have been jumping into. I've been talking a lot about MTG recently.
Yeah.
We have very diversified interests, and it's not like hobby ADHD, right? It's more like burnout is what I would say. In the sense of like, we've been just going at this and going at this and going at this. And we have been wanting to sort of refresh ourselves in our hobby journeys. And I got to tell you, since Bill and I started talking about this the last, week or so, right? Really just finally confessing that this is where we're going, right? Our engagement in the hobby has increased. Like, I don't even know how much.
Tenfold.
right?
Tenfold.
The amount of terrain you've been building, the amount of models that you're actually putting paint on, and you're just like going at it. This is like when you got Conquest, when you first got the Nords, and you're just like, let's go, right? But it's like breathing new life into our hobby aspect, which of course, you just want us to sit here and just be like, well, I guess we'll do another Path to Glory list for this other army we didn't look at before.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't mean we're not going to cover GW products. It's the way we're branding ourselves as narrative gamers.
Yes.
Right? That's what we're more interested in, is like a campaign process, a storyline, heroic deaths, right? Villainous, attacks, all those kinds of things that like make for like the big gaming feel, right?
Yes.
At our core, like I started out with, I had some card games like Pokemon, but tabletop RPG, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Make a character, have a story, get engaged,
Yeah.
And we've always talked about being that.
Feel involved in an ongoing thing. And, that does segue into kind of one of the big reasons also to get away from being GW centric is I'm so flippin' tired of this Grimdark.
Yeah.
And it as a method of delivering content, Grimdark is at once a huge cop-out in terms of you can always easily tell a story in that grimdark future because it lends itself to this. There is no end game. There's no win. There's no victory. No matter how hard we win, we've lost.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what side you're on, Chaos or Imperial or Tyranid or Xenos or whatever. No matter how hard you win, you have lost.
Yeah.
The end game just is bad. And it becomes, after a while, very fatiguing to sit there and know that, oh, this new book, Cypher, is coming out, and it's going to explain nothing.
Nothing.
It's going to advance absolutely nothing. And I have to say, it's really hard to root for idiots. And every faction in 40K and every faction in AOS are idiots.
Yeah.
Because they all have a method of victory and an end game where they can improve their state. And none of them are willing to take it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't continue the storyline and generate more income. Let's face it, they're in business to make money. So that's that. But at no point do I see in the future where they are going to start tipping the scales toward one side or the other in either of the settings. They are just continuing the continuance of we're not doing anything. We're not advancing anywhere. We have Rabute Gilliman come out. We have Lionel Johnson out. And how has that markedly improved the galaxy for the Imperium? Not at all.
No.
Not at all. In fact, if anything, they've taken a step back. And it's just, there seems to be I'm tired of Grimdark. That's all there is to it. It's like you said, you're rooting for your favorite team, but your favorite team isn't progressing. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah, and it does feel like we're coming into football season here in America, right?
Oh,
and it's everyone just here's my favorite team, talking shit about other people's teams, all kinds of stuff. And it happens all the time, and it's fun, to a degree. But with a game like this, it's just like, well, salamanders are the greatest thing ever, and I'm like, but white scars are even better, like they're all the same thing. They're just slightly different flavors of white rice. At the end of the day, it does not matter at all, and you get much more out of, I would say, like GW's like box games than you're getting out of the main games. Because think about Curse City. How cool is that game?
My gosh,
it's so fun. Necromunda, right? Made to be narrative, right? Blood Bowl. If you actually want to root for your favorite football team, play Blood Bowl. and even then, Blood Bowl has a sort of narrative campaign aspect to it, right?
It really eats itself in narrative. It's awesome.
Legions Imperialis. You have a whole shelf of unopened Legions Imperialis over here.
Yeah.
And some of the most excited I've heard you talk about playing a GW game has been with Legions.
Yes.
Right? Because it's narrative. It's anchored in that,
Yes.
It's not just competitive stuff.
Yeah.
And I know it's a little tongue in cheek saying that with Infinity being a meant to be competitive game,
Yeah.
but I mean, it also lends itself to some other really cool stuff. And so it's sort of, we're not like throwing away our GW miniatures.
No.
We're not going to stop playing
And
GW games.
yeah, we're not hating on GW either. Don't ever get me wrong. I still think GW is the greatest, biggest, and best. By far, who brings in the most people to the hobby as a whole? It's GW.
Yeah.
Now, and they set the hook and they actually bait the traps. They get people into it, and those people then move on to other games. Or they don't. They might stay in the GW ecosystem forever, but it doesn't matter. They're in the hobby and they're doing stuff. That's the awesome part of GW. And, you can hate them for any of the myriad reasons that you might hate them. But at the end of the day, they do more than any other company to bring in people to the hobby. And if those people do GW stuff for 5 years and then discover MCP or discover Conquest or Infinity or Malifaux or whatever it is, then hey, you know what? They got them hooked. Now the other companies get to reap the rewards of that. And that's awesome. So this is not hating on GW.
No.
This is just an overall fatigue with the method of GW and the storytelling, which I feel has really dried up. A lot of the books that I've read lately have been very not great. And just, I don't want to say bad because somebody poured a lot of effort into it. They're just not engaging for me at all.
Well, you had the big finale of The End and the Death, right?
Oh, that was awesome.
Right. And one would hope that they would go into like a series on the Scouring, just so like we can get to modern times in terms of like book progression. But it's a big thing finally happened, right?
Yeah.
Like the Horus Heresy, like we all knew how it end, so to speak, but it's over.
Yeah.
Right? That's not going to happen again. And that's where their best writers were pouring their efforts into, and like hopefully they do get back out there and start actually writing for some things, or God forbid help write the actual lore for like the books.
Oh God, that
The
Blood
codexes.
Angels book. Oh my God. They are getting torn up for that Blood Angels codex. Oh my God, the lore. There was one guy that's like, this had to have been written by AI. These first couple of stories in the Blood Angels book had to have been AI or someone that didn't know intrinsically what the Blood Angels were all about. And to open up with that, I mean, come on, people. It's just, when Dan Abnett and some of the other big authors start doing Dawn of Fire books and maybe, advancing and working on that storyline, the modern day Primaris storyline. But I've got to tell you, those Dawn of Fire books have been, they're definitely books that are in print.
They are some of the books of all time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they are some of the top billion books ever printed. So, but beyond that, no, not what I expect from Black Library. There's a certain quality level that you expect from Black Library books. And, if it's bolter porn, if it's, Raven Guard or going to this planet to excise this bad guy, I expect bolter porn. I don't expect deep introspective storylines.
Right. Yeah.
But when I see a series that they're trying to kick, like Dawn of Fire, to literally light a fire into this new Imperium that we're dealing with, and the books are kind of like mediocre at best, come on, guys. Now, that being said, when you look at the amount of effort put in by other companies to their lore, GW knocks them completely out of the park. And you can say whatever you want about Parabellum with their live lore system and Corvus Belli with their just amazing depth of lore. It pales in comparison to what GW does. So,
I mean, of course, when you've got a dedicated like Black Library publishing,
you have a publishing arm.
yeah, like you are in fact dedicated to story. And I mean, that's the thing, is they can't all be bangers, but
No.
I mean, more often than not recently, in terms of progressing the present storylines. It's just not there. And so like
Not fun.
why engage with that system when we could actually like create meaningful narrative interactions with some other stuff?
Yeah, when you go to the Parabellum website and you look at the live lore, which, and I mean it's live, you, the person, are voting to see where the story goes. And they are literally writing and putting all the options in front of you. And the world is picking how it goes. And the ramifications of that are quite simple. As the lore moves forward, so do the model ranges.
Yep.
And you determine what the next faction that's going to come out is going to be. And that is an amazing. And again, here's the difference. Parabellum, Corvus Belli, these companies, their lore moves along.
Yeah.
And there's victories, there's defeats, but everything moves along, and they're not willing to let it get mired into this, oh, well, it's 1 minute to midnight, and that's all there is to it, and I don't care if you're playing Pan Oceania against Combined Army, it will have zero effect. No, it does. It really does. They move that story along, and there's big victories, and there's big defeats.
Yeah.
And you feel like when you're playing the game that you are recreating efforts that are moving that story along, especially in Conquest.
Oh, yeah.
With, actually dedicated campaigns and scenarios that feed into where the lore is going.
Yeah.
And you're a part of it. And that's just, and I understand that GW is too big to do something like that. And the last time they tried it, it blew up in their face. Understood. I get it. However, when there's zero endgame, when there's zero that's going to be accomplished, I just don't feel like I'm a part of it anymore, ever.
Yeah.
So that's part of the big reason. Of course, the purely personal reason is we want to try these other games.
And we want to talk about them.
Yeah.
And we want to engage with those communities.
Yeah,
right?
without being yelled at for not doing what you said on the tin.
Yeah.
And honestly, right now, the Rolling Bad podcast says it's an Age of Sigmar podcast. So when we talk about Conquest and Infinity and Frostgrave and Stargrave and you name it, we're kind of selling out that mission statement that we had all those years ago, which is why what we're coming to next.
And what is that, Bill?
Well, it's time to get angry.
Oh.
It's time to be Ang, which is ANG, Albuquerque Narrative Gamers. And that is going to be the byline of the new show. It's anger. It's angst. It's whatever you want to call it.
Angery reacts only, folks.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what we are.
Yes.
Maybe rearrange narrative gamers, but
Sure.
Erng is not as good as
Ring.
Yeah.
It's random number generator. That's why I stayed away from it.
Right. So, we're getting angry. We want to engage in all these systems and have a good time and talk about it, right? And, it's not just an After Dark special where we're like, shh, don't let GW know that we play these other games.
Exactly.
They might get angry at us.
Yeah. And, like that matters.
That ship sailed with before I even came on the show. Huh?
Exactly. Yeah. We have never even been thought of for Pleasant for Plastic, but oh well, no big deal. It's one of these things where, I hate to say this, but since you've come on the show, I think it's been markedly better. But the problem is our format was set. Our sort of background was set. Now that we're going to rebrand, it'll be more of a team affair. And you and I together will determine the course, not this is our history, so this is how we do it.
Yeah.
We're just going to start with a clean slate. The Anger Show or whatever it is, the Anger Podcast, we will let you know what the title is, trust me. It's going to be a collaborative effort, and we're going to fold YouTube stuff into this. Yeah. We're going to look at, it's going to be limited at first because we just don't have the tools right now to do, a nice, decent bat rep.
Yeah.
Like you would see from some of the other channels, but we'll get there eventually. But we're certainly going to have YouTube presentations where we're going to be able to show you what we're talking about, not just a recording of the show that sits on YouTube. It's actually going to be, I don't want to say interactive, but it's going to be active. Okay. You're going to be able to see us and laugh at us. And, we really want to start growing in that direction as well. And we're going to cover all the games. all the games. And if you have ideas for games that we should cover that we're not covering, let us know what they are. The Discord is going to get rebranded, but it's not going to change. It'll still be the same thing. One thing that will happen is I'm shutting down the Patreon. I don't expect anyone to have bought in for one thing and then keep paying for another. If you want to leave I'm not going to shut it down. I'm going to pause the payments until we get everything squared away. If you want to stay on, hey, great. Thank you. You're awesome. Love you. If you don't want to, totally understand. Don't worry. Drop it. I don't care. It's, you've got to vote with your money.
Yeah.
So we are literally going to title the episodes with, the angry show. And then the next word after the intro is going to be what the major focus of that episode is. Is it going to be an Infinity show where we talk a lot about Infinity stuff? Is it going to be War Crow? Is it going to be, 5 parsecs? You'll know right when you look at the title of the show whether or not you even care to listen to it. But again, it's going to have content from everywhere. It's going to have GW content, 40K, AOS. In the show's original format, I even felt kind of bad about covering the 40K stuff.
Yeah.
And that's same within the GW ecosystem. So yeah, you're going to hear more 40K. You're going to hear probably more AOS since we have a new edition. So it's not like we're going to stop playing AOS in favor of all these other games. It's just there's a lot of games out there and you want to try them all.
And report back to you and really engage with you on that stuff, because we're all like, how many times do we talk about being Infinity curious? We're just kind of like, we were almost right there. And then
and when you pulled the trigger, we went hard.
And I impulse bought, and Bill was like there 3 hours later.
Yes.
And here we are. And it's that thing, we get excited about the new and the different games, We're like, if someone was like, yeah, dude, I really like other video games, but I only played Dark Souls 1.
Yeah.
And hey, they've got new patches coming up to help fix some things, but I'm only going to play Dark Souls 1.
Yeah.
Right? Well, hey man, they just came out with the new stuff for Elden Ring. I only played Dark Souls 1.
Well, okay.
Yeah. I'm a Dark Souls 1 podcast, right? In which I only talk about Dark Souls 1. This is part of the shift, right? We think about as gamers and all that, how we do diversify, how we do want to play other games. It's okay to do that, right? We don't work for GW, right? We have love for GW and those who work for GW and what have you, but we get to do what we want to do, right? And that's sort of taking away, rebranding, and shifting it to be like, we are focused on the narrative gaming, right? Wherever that may be, okay?
And it's really wherever our narrative goes.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm going to pause so we can open. And I'm leaving that in. You can hear us popping our monsters.
I thought it was a beer. Damn it.
Sorry, dude. It's O'Doul's. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's where our narrative goes. Yeah, I killed him. I got him.
I was just thinking of that Chris Farley SNL skit. It's Columbia Decaf Crystals. What did you say? I'll kill you.
Oh, my God. Good stuff.
Sorry.
Oh, Lord.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, we were having fun. And you're going to hear a lot more of that. So, because we're free now. And
free.
Yeah, we don't have to be AOS sycophants. So, I mean, it's just, wherever the narrative goes, wherever our narrative goes is where the show's going to go. And you're going to tell us by your listenership or lack thereof what is working. But, we're going to be a gaming podcast, not an AOS podcast. And that's really all the change is.
Yeah.
Is we're going to have the freedom without guilt to go anywhere we want. So why don't you start talking about what we're going to cover and how we're going to do it?
Yeah. So big thing is it just came out. It's fertile ground. We are definitely going to be committed to doing some War Crow stuff. I mean, we already talked about how we got the boxes. Bill and I, Bill's already built and primed his whole thing.
And
I'm halfway done.
Yeah. And so, War Crow is a skirmish game. You're talking about 10, 15 models per side.
Upwards of 20, I think, if you get into the higher level scenarios.
Sure.
And it's Corvus Billy.
Yes.
Right. It's, as we talked about, it's the resin product and all that.
Mm-hmm.
This is their specifically narrative focused game.
Competitively casual. But I mean, the starter box is an amazing offering.
Yeah.
It literally gets you started right off the bat with the models, with a campaign system that gets you into the game and figuring out the rules. And yes, Corvus Belli makes complex game. The crazy part is, and I don't know if AOS 4.0 took a pointer from them or they took a pointer from anybody, whoever came up with the idea, they have streamlined everything, even in Infinity. You know, everybody talks about how complex Infinity is. Once you know 4 or 5 key concepts, everything else is just, oh, okay, what is that interaction again? Let me look it up on the wiki real quick. Okay.
Yeah.
2 minutes later, you're fixed and you're rolling. And, you know, somebody that's been playing for 15 years will tell you that, yeah, I jump over to the wiki to look at it real quick because they're always making tweaks here and there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and it's the same thing with Warcrow. It is deceptively complex because, yes, it uses a movement system that is probably a little bit different from anything you've seen. The most amazing difference to me is you measure front to back.
Yes.
So they have built the distance of the base into the movement for the critter that you're moving. So it's literally, okay, I put the little measuring stick out there and just move the dude to the end of it.
Yeah.
And it's something that most gamers are going to be tripped up by because you're not used to doing that, but it makes perfect sense and it's quicker. And the idea that you move the unit leader and then you just place the rest of the unit around him.
Yeah.
Or her. And that's it. You don't fiddle around with moving the other people in the unit. That's it. You're just, it's kind of like Legion in that way. You move the leader and then everybody else just sort of floods around them.
Yep.
And does that mean that the other guys might actually go further than the leader? Yes. Yes, it does. Are there benefits to that? Sure thing. Are there drawbacks?
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, you will learn that movement and positioning in an Infinity game is just like any other GW game. Movement and positioning is key.
Yes.
And it just applies here. And so we're going to be covering Warcrow like some bitches.
Oh, yeah. And right now it's just at its infancy. Like they don't even have 2 full armies out yet.
Nope.
Right. They have, you know, the 2 starters, which are not going to be full forces.
No, they're
Right.
tiny.
Yeah, they're like maybe half to, you know, a third of the size of what a full 250 point list, with 250 points being what it is they believe
Standard,
is going to be the standard. So with that, just it's on the horizon, right? So we're going to how to play.
Yep.
Right.
We're going to break down every portion of the game and give you a, how does this work?
Yeah.
And complete with slides for the YouTube part and all that stuff.
Yeah, and one thing I love about Warcrow, if you've played MCP before, right? You've already got one up on most people because that was one of the biggest things. People were like, I don't like the dice. Like,
Yeah.
it's super easy.
Yes.
It's super easy what they mean, understand it, and how to apply it once you actually sit with the rules.
And they're cooler than crap.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
awesome. The way I love in combat how when you both sides roll dice and both sides can take damage.
Yep.
You know, if you roll poorly as the attacker, you might be the one getting the wounds.
Yeah.
And or even if you roll really well but don't get any blocks,
Yeah.
you could possibly, and I just love the way it means screening is going to become a thing of the past, kind of, because you can roll your big nasty dude into a screen and get chewed up.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
yes, you will wipe them out, but you might take enough damage to give you pause
Yeah.
in the effort instead of just, okay, I moved my Terrorgeist over and just eat all the goblins.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fine. That was fun. No.
Yeah, no, this one it's like actually being in combat from what you know, like the concept of it.
Yes.
Because you are smashing at each other, right? It's not like I'm gonna walk over and hit you and you're like, man, I hope my armor holds. Right? Like like the old school like British firing lines. You're like, okay, we'll shoot, and then you shoot, and then we'll shoot.
Yeah.
And then you shoot. It's meant to be interactive, alternating activations, activating one unit at a time. Like it's so cool. But you know, it starts off with, you know, the how to play stuff. One of the things we want to do for like really the hobby aspects
Oh, yeah.
is that when we have new armies come out, you know, Bill and I will do a paint off
Yep.
and you all will be able to vote for which one would be the channel army.
Yes.
Right? So that one will be the one that be played, when we're doing that, unless we're doing a mirror match, right?
And I will send money to people who vote for me.
All right. Where do I vote, Bill?
Wait a minute. Are we being competitive? Yes.
Man, I got like 7 different votes from I think they're different accounts. It's JAlt1 and JAlt2 and
Wow. Why am I sending all these checks?
yeah. I sent this guy like $300. I don't know.
And I mean, this game just kind of screams for narrative campaigns,
Yeah.
I think. So, and their stated goal with this is to be not as competitively focused as Infinity is. This is going to be, I don't want to say their beer and pretzels game, but it's certainly going to be less cutthroat, I think.
Yeah.
And so that lends well to what our focus is.
But there's always going to be times when you min-max in games, right?
Of course.
Since we're getting at ground level with this, we'll be able to go through the full analysis on the strengths and weaknesses of various armies, and if there is a competitive scene for this game, what which armies are gonna fare well versus which ones are not, right?
Well, and it's Corvus Belly, so I feel like if they even remotely approach how they've handled Infinity, there are bad lists. You can make a bad list. Trust me. I'm doing it right now. But I mean, it's an incredibly well-balanced competitive game. So everybody dies. Everybody can win. Some folks like our factions have an easier time of it, but they're well known for their competitive balance. And I have to believe the same thing is going to happen in Warcrow. From all of the stuff I've seen on it so far, it looks very balanced. So,
it's completely balanced. And the starter box is balanced, right?
Oh, yeah.
It may not seem like it sometimes, but they've done a great job of making sure that those two armies, it's not clear who will win if you go into it and you do it right. Like if you're strategic about it.
Yeah.
The best thing about Warcrow so far is just the models. The ones that are going to be coming out. Do yourself a favor. Go look them up. I said it earlier in the show. I don't care if I'm saying it again. Go look them up. Particularly the Scions. So you can just see just how creative their sculptors are. Holy cow. This is not like anything you've seen. You have concepts of chaos demons and stuff like that from GW and what have you. But these things are flesh monstrosities done in a way that I was like, I could not even conceive of that.
Yeah.
And then you look at it and you're like, I still can't. There's one guy that's half his body's a face.
Yeah.
That one's I look at it and I'm like, is my mind actually, am I seeing this? In my mind, can it comprehend it? I don't think it can. Even now I sound stupid talking about it, but you'll trust me, when you see the model, you'll understand.
And you'll get it. What is that?
What's happening? It doesn't quite fit. And that to me is such a new level of creativity,
Yeah.
And I talked about again the CNN, right?
Yes.
Their models look absolutely gorgeous.
Just angry elves. Oh my God. Elves with such a chip on their shoulder.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh yeah. They are not happy. They are here for revenge. They have great actual story how their elves operate, you know, being tied to a particular tree, and you have to defend the tree. And even then, if they venture too far from the forest, how it starts to have a psychological effect on them.
Yep.
It's just so great. And so I'm really excited to be getting into that. And then
Infinity.
I
think we've beaten that one up, but yes, we're all into Infinity right now.
And N5's coming out in the next month or so. They said October release.
Yeah, they think they're sliding that back a little.
Okay, which is fine. Maybe we'll get a few games in before we have to
learn
the game
system. But
but from the looks of it, they're not changing a ton. It's sort of same concept, same math, just different wording,
refinement, and a new entry system, and a new player system. So that'll be fun to cover because technically, even if it comes out in December, will be new. Yeah. Still, so we'll be able to give a good newbie perspective on that.
And sort of since we are more, narrative gaming focused, might talk about how to not be so sweaty while you're playing Infinity.
Yeah, maybe a little. Although, it's really hard to not, again, I go back to this whole thing of playing narratively does not mean playing shitty lists.
No.
It means playing with a I'm not here to just have my foot on the accelerator constantly. Story be damned, table be damned. I'm just here to fuck you up.
Yeah.
And that has a tendency to just lead to games that are fun for one participant only. And if that game was fun for you, you're not right. You are the one with the issue. You are that guy.
Yeah.
And, I spent a lot of years being that guy, and I don't ever want to be there again.
Yeah.
And that does not mean I don't want to win. It just means that I don't care if I lose if the game was fun.
Yeah.
And, it's never fun to run up against, and let's say, Eldar versus, I don't know, fucking orcs. Or, when you're taking the broken army against the crappy army and you pull off a really big win and you walk away from that going, fuck yeah, really, what did you just accomplish?
Yeah.
You wasted another guy's 4 hours to achieve what? Your little dick got hard. If that's what it's doing for you, you need to turn yourself in. You're a psychopath.
Why does Frank go to the bathroom after every round when he wins in like 20 minutes? Well, he's got to decompress.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, particularly because both Bill and I know we're playing presently powerful armies in Infinity, right? It's good to just like take it with an eye of like, no, let's just do this for fun. Let's have the big moments, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want Ajax to fight your tag. Like, let's go.
Yeah. Stuff like that. It just, I don't have models right now for Bakunin that are what make it top tier. I don't have them. I physically do not have them. So it's not, my lists are not going to be these finely tuned Bakunin hit lists that are just going to make you cry for showing up. Yeah, I can't do that. I really can't. I'm basically putting together Nomads lists until I can get some other stuff together.
Yeah.
And then when I do, who knows what it might do. In my hands, it won't be top tier, trust me. But I'm still going to have fun playing them. I love their lore. I picked up the Pan-Oceania stuff because I awesomely love that Pan-O stuff. But there isn't a faction in Infinity that I don't like.
Yeah.
So it's really hard. It's just like AOS. I like every one of the factions in there with a few exceptions. I want to play them all. Yeah. But I know I can't. In something like Infinity, I know I can because we're not talking about 200 models. We're talking about 10, 15. So, yeah.
And that's one of the things that's cool about Infinity so much is just the flexibility within like a singular faction.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have like they call them the vanilla faction, and then you have your sub factions, so you can play your specialized type that it just looks different than like the rest of the freaking army, right? Like the vanilla army, and then like you go vanilla and you start bringing in different things, and it's super fun. Like, and the themes they have throughout all the different armies are great. Like, I haven't seen one where I wasn't like, that's cool, I'd play with that model, like the freaking werewolves from Ariadna.
Oh god. The antipodes are just, oh my God. No, really? Yes, really.
Yes. There are ninja werewolves working with like U.S. soldiers.
Yeah,
like,
U.S. area with werewolves. Okay.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's so fun. Every flavor you could think of. And with the new set coming out, what is it? It's JSA versus who?
Pano.
Pano versus JSA, which is the Japanese Successionist Army. Talk about cool models.
Oh, just, when you start diving into the lore of Infinity, it's just so off the hook, hodgepodge of all these great tropes combined in a reasonably logical way. And, it's all the human sphere.
Yeah.
All this stuff is taking place in the human sphere, and technology is advancing. AI is ruling everything for the idiots out there. I mean, like Aleph.
Yeah.
And,
hey, we're not the idiots. We're the AI.
Yeah, you're the AI. Okay. So, unless you actually have some sense of freedom, like, the nomads. but it's actually it's an environment that's based on the overarching thing is things are really good for the average human right now. And it's only getting better. And as you're fighting these fights between the N5, if you will, as you're having these little wars, the narrative impact just playing the game it's available to you. You can pick it out. Unlike, if you play 40K, Black Templars versus Orcs, that in this particular instance, right here and now, okay, so the Orcs won, yay. In the greater scope of things, the Orcs are getting their butts kicked just like everybody else. And they're not progressing their agenda. Nothing's getting better for the people around them. So what was the point? At least in, some of these other games, there is a point to the fights.
Yeah.
And, I will give Parabellum this in the Conquest world. They bake so many of their scenarios into and from as they update the scenarios. You can see how they have looked at what's the situation in the world and how can we kind of sort of backhandedly reference that in the scenarios that we're designing.
Yeah.
And they make it incredibly available for you to play a very competitive game of Conquest that has a narrative hook to it.
Yeah.
And when they release a narrative pack, like, they did Conquest of Wills, it's based and rooted in the lore of the system of their world. And it matters when you are fighting that out and you reach the epilogue of Conquest of Wills and you read that passage, you're like, fuck yeah, that was awesome.
Right.
And this dude is now a thing.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is when you go to the website, the dude's now a thing.
Yep.
And it's a thing that happened. And decisions are being made about what's coming next based on that dude being a thing.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love the fact that they're a small enough company and they can be that responsive and really make the player base feel like I have a stake in this.
Yeah.
And I understand why GW can't do that. The last worldwide campaign was, comical at best. I mean, they tried. They really tried. Yeah. I don't think they understood what worldwide meant and how much they were going to get, how much input they were going to get.
Yeah.
And how one-sided it was going to be because, wow, did they have to retcon that stuff.
I have to say, that's the thing is like GW can't be as agile as these smaller companies, And so these smaller companies are able to make moves.
Sure.
GW can't because GW is making like moves on a grander scale.
Yeah.
And so not to say that these smaller companies aren't like making huge moves. I mean, Parabellum in the last year, talk about Conquest just spitting out model after model after model.
Lord.
It's blowing my mind, and the quality increases
entire
every time.
Factions coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like a game where you could literally buy an entire army for like what? $400 to $600, 2,000 points, just build it and paint it. It's ready to go. You don't have to like piecemeal it together.
Right.
Like that's a huge boon. Like, why don't we have that more?
Yeah.
They know they've got their secret sauce for their game.
Yes. And it's everybody has their strengths, GW included. And as long as they keep playing to their strengths, they'll survive and they'll do well and we'll cover them.
Yeah.
Because it's just flipping good fun.
And, it's still great products. The models are always going to be probably the best from GW, though Parabellum's getting there. And, we'll see how Corvus Belli does with the Warcrow stuff, if they'll be able to continue to increase the quality of the miniatures like they are. And of course, we'll be covering Conquest a lot, too, on the show. I know I didn't put a note on the agenda for that, but Conquest all day. It's one of our favorite games.
I'm starting the Conquest of Wills campaign with Terry from Slice and Dice. We're going to be starting that here within the next few weeks.
Yep.
So it's going to be a hoot, and you'll hear a lot about it because I'm not going to feel guilty about talking about it now.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. So big moves, and then Hobby Talk. And
yeah.
Streams are going to be a much more a thing once we really get down our streaming capabilities, videos and stuff. So, of course, neither of us are master painters, but
Yes.
We're like the average gamer
Yeah,
painters, right? So we'll probably have one. I said how to paint poorly.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
speed painting, because a lot of us are not going to sit there and spend 500 hours trying to get a centerpiece model for trying to get in the upper echelon where
Yeah.
pretty much you get voted in by your friends. But so we'll talk about speed painting. How do I get models on the table quickly?
Yeah.
Right. 3-foot rule stuff, like let's just get it on
Yes.
the table. And one thing that I certainly is going to be its own segment, because Bill's practically done this every time, but like Bill's Bountiful Hobby Supplies, like the rate at which you like hear about and receive and get information, even purchase and receive hobby supplies is at a rate that I can't even comprehend. So that'd be Bill be able to do reviews on those types of things, you know, perhaps even demonstrations.
Yes.
Here's how the product works. Here's how it looks. Here's how it smells. Don't taste it, but
we're going to do video unboxings. We're going to do, demonstrations of, hey, this is something we've talked about quite often, but probably bears a little bit of visual distinction.
Yeah.
So, you're going to see that stuff on the YouTube.
Videos of us scrubbing resin and metal model. No, I'm kidding.
It's the truth, though. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that have never worked with metal models.
Yep.
And honestly, knowing what it should look like when it is clean versus when it's not as clean as it should be, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
And seeing it happening live gives, there's a lot of people that are visual learners out there.
Yeah.
And, demonstrations are good.
No, they are. They are. When we first came back into Infinity, I had to go research it and find someone like, remind me how to build a metal model, because it's been about 5 years since I've done it.
Yeah.
And, it's not hard.
No.
It's just a little extra time than you would just clipping something off a sprue.
Different things you do. Like I always tell people to get a scalpel and buy scalpel blades because it's so much better for doing models. Well, plastic models. And the Cyocast, yes, that scalpels are still your best friend and they're your cheapest alternative. As soon as you start building metal models, get yourself a freaking X-Acto knife with X-Acto blades, because scalpel ain't going to help you at all.
No.
And it'll just bend.
Get yourself a file too.
Yeah, you'll need files.
Yeah.
Because sandpaper ain't going to be your best friend.
No.
Files are a better friend.
Yeah. So we'll get into that, how to hobby outside of the plastic, right?
Yes.
We've talked ad nauseum about hobbying with the plastic, but then also Bill gets all the new paints, so Bill can give the average gamer painter assessment of the paint, you know,
and show you what they look like and how cool they are. Except I didn't buy the P3 Kickstarter. I refuse to buy the P3 Kickstarter. I have Duncan Rhodes paints. I have all the new Army Painter Fanatics.
Yeah.
Plus all the Monument Hobby. I have all the good paints I need. God dang it. I'm not buying into P3. God, I want that so bad. I love P3 paints, man. Oh, God, they're so good.
Well, at the start of the new show, the Anger podcast, what it's going to be, Bill will probably be like, so I bought the P3.
I did the last minute Kickstarter. Oh, God, I know I'm going to do it, but I want to avoid it.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for you to tell me that you bought it.
I know. I'm going to try not to.
Try not to, right? Yes. Invest more in your Nomads.
Yes, and that's really the truth is, I have so many things to pick up for Nomads, and so much of it now is eBay, because they're not even on the Corvus Belly site anymore. I had to buy my Riot Girls from eBay. Not because Corvus Belly doesn't sell them, but because they were so much cheaper on eBay. Oh, my God.
Ain't that the
so
truth?
much cheaper? Yeah, that Pan-Oceana box I bought, the collection box. Oh my God, so much cheaper.
Yeah,
so much cheaper on eBay than shipping from Spain.
Well, even over at Slice and Dice, right? It's cheaper to purchase than purchasing off their website.
Yes,
even before shipping, right?
Which is so weird because I don't understand what their pricing structure is. That it can be more expensive from the manufacturer than retail.
Yes, like when I get the sectorial box for Steel Phalanx and it's 107 and change, right? Where if I were to get it, with the conversion rate prior to shipping, from Spain is like 127, 126.
Weird.
And I was like, that's a lot of savings. That is a significant number.
Yes.
Right. When looking at purchasing wargaming products. So
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, I'd probably just go to Vic for everything.
Yeah. Well, and he'll order anything.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of it is.
Oh, but he's got that Toha
Oh,
those boxes, man.
I know.
Like,
I want those too, but it's like they even say right there, it's, they're still updated, but
Yeah.
they're no longer in production and there is no date for production.
Yeah, it's
so
tough.
it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to buy a Dead End Army, although they look so cool.
I
And
mean,
when we start the new show, we'll do some lore dives into what the Toha are and how they factor into the Infinity universe.
and that might even be some of our first content. Really, is like, hey, we're getting into this game.
Yeah.
Let's give you reasons why you should care.
Yeah.
Right. Because most people will care if they can really jive with the story. So
Yeah.
believe us when we say that we'll be deep diving on that.
Oh yeah.
And here's why I picked. Well, I mean, we rule of cooled our first star race.
Yes,
for
we sure did. We had no idea we were picking two broken factions, but
Right.
and when I say broken, don't think for a moment that it's like, oh, buy them to win, because that's not true.
No. Infinity is a game where skill really makes
matters.
it, determines it, because the higher level, players, could probably take like a mid-low tier army and still be able to,
Yeah.
fight up against these folks. It's still a war game, still a dice game, right? As long as you are smart about it, you should be able to make, moves,
Yes.
and being able to actually, take down folks that you maybe not otherwise may be able to.
Yeah.
So, I'm excited for the new journey.
Me too.
I'm excited to finally, I guess, not take the shackles off, right, but take the weight off.
Yeah.
Of carrying around just AOS.
Yeah.
As our thing. So again, of course, we're going to cover AOS.
Yes.
Still love Skaven.
Yes.
You love Daughters. You
Yes.
know, like the new book's going to drop, and you're going to be like, oh my god, so I painted 25 sisters.
This is the best army ever.
Yeah.
Blows Conquest the fuck away.
Yeah. I'm not playing Infinity ever again.
Screw
because-
Corvus Belly.
Yeah.
Which is one thing you will not hear on the new show is we are going to only cover the positives. If you don't hear us talking about something, it's probably because we don't like it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's better to not say anything at all because we don't need negativity in the hobby. period.
No, we don't. And being able to move forward and focus more on the positive aspects of these things. Not to say we can't be critical or that we won't be critical
Sure.
at times, but that we can really focus on, like, because we're so excited about getting into these games.
Yeah.
Like the energy that like Bill and I had just, in our messaging threads and all that stuff is like, oh my God, dude. Like, so like, I don't have any of the Corvus Belly cardboard terrain yet. Not on
Yeah.
3D printer, so I'm literally like cutting up cardboard
Yeah.
boxes
Yeah.
and like trying to like convert them,
Yep.
into buildings and stuff for Infinity, cause like I got this idea of making like a dive bar, like
Yeah.
crummy downtown area with nightclubs and stuff like that.
Hell
that I
yeah.
just starting to work on that right now. I want to get some models painted first, but so like it's giving us that like life.
Yes,
that-
the hobby juices are flowing again.
when was the last time I talked about actually painting something on the channel?
I know.
Yeah. Let alone building something. I think the
Yep.
last thing I built was the Skaven army from,
Yeah.
the Age of Sigmar box. And then
And
they're
there
like,
it was, yeah.
they're not painted.
Yeah, these are. So, yeah, that's where we're at. That's where we're going. That's why the show's ending, and that's why the show's starting. So,
Yeah.
watch this space. Nothing's going to change. If we're in your feed, we'll stay in your feed. It's just going to be a new name, and we are rebranding everything. That's all. It's going to be the same two of us. We're just going to cover a lot of different stuff, and keep an eye on the titles. If you have absolutely no interest in the Conquest and the title of the show says Conquest, chances are a majority of that show, not all of it, but a majority is going to be devoted to Conquest stuff.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to look at your feed and go, yeah, I don't want to hear that one.
Yeah.
So, but there's other people that will want to hear it and they'll get to. So you'll get the next one. And, keep communicating with us. Keep letting us know what you want to see. I am expecting tomorrow to get my Kickstarter shipment from Catalyst with all the Battletech stuff. So
Oh,
you will probably hear some Battletech crap in the next show. Yeah, because I looked at what the contents of that box was,
Oh God.
and I'm like, Oh, I may have overdone it a little bit. Yeah, I think I overdid it. But that's the fun of it. You know, I'm 60 years old. I get to buy toys now. So piss off.
Yeah, and you know how to speed paint those freaking BattleTech minis like no one else. I mean,
hell yeah.
I always just look up at your BattleTech slot up there, and I'm just like, damn. Like, you just got those. I remember you were getting just full freaking armies done at a time, you know, and like shipping them out to people.
Yeah, I did 125 and shipped them out. That was awesome.
How long did that take you?
Oh, few evenings, less than a week.
See, just you'll have that whole freaking box done before I know it. Right? Like, I had to pause on the Nomad stuff because I painted the entire Kickstarter for BattleTech.
Jesus, no, that won't happen. Oh my God, there's so much crap coming.
How many pounds?
I don't know. I don't know,
and
but
resin
they had to split it up into 2 boxes.
Oh,
so for sure. And yeah, there is a lot of salvage boxes in there. There's only one of the actual new box set. But I ordered a lot of force packs, and there's any era, anything you want BattleTech, it's gonna be there.
Oh my God.
Dear God.
Oh my God. We had to get pictures of that up, right?
Oh, I will. I will
that might
take
be an
pictures.
unboxing right there.
It will be. I will take a lot of pictures, and I will probably do a video on that just to kick things off.
Yeah.
So.
Oh Lord.
Yep.
Coming here and just gonna be piled up.
Yes. It's gonna be ugly.
Oh goodness. So yeah. So this isn't goodbye. This is see you later.
Yeah.
Right. This is us still doing what we do, but under different auspices to allow for the appropriate space for us to engage in the hobby we want to engage in.
Yeah, without feeling like we're selling you a bill of goods.
Yeah.
That you're paying for or tuned in for a certain thing and you're not getting it. Now at least you know what you're up against.
Yeah.
So,
you know, that might change if we do have any After Dark stuff, because that was where we talked about everything not GW in detail, right? So Bill and I will let you know the plans for that on the next show, what that's going to look like. So, I mean, I've had so much fun since joining this show, you know, and I feel like we've grown a lot in terms of our interests and what we're doing and all these different games that branch out, you know, from our current interests, right? I mean, you'll probably never get me to play Star Wars Legion, but, you know, you sucked me into Conquest.
yes.
I sucked you into Infinity.
Yes, you did.
You got me on Warcrow. You know, I'm just worried I'm going to start playing Dungeons and Lasers now.
It's just terrain. I don't think they have their own game, but if they do.
I know. But yeah, so stick around. We're not going anywhere. We're just going to do our hair up a little bit.
Yeah.
And we'll come back. And then I think we'll really get the party started from here. Because we've talked about wanting to have that, you know, presence, you know, on YouTube and streaming when we're able to.
Yep.
But I felt like there just wasn't a lot of like drive to play the GW stuff.
Yeah.
Like only the GW stuff. So
Right.
look forward to it. Look forward to the change and look forward to you all growing with us.
The music in the show is used courtesy of Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com and is used under the Creative Commons license. The Rolling Bad podcast itself is protected under the Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License. Information for this license can be found at creativecommons.org.